Hey, leaders. I appreciate you joining me. And for all those that this is your first time, we are Lessons for Leadership. We are a company and a channel dedicated to making leaders out of everyone. We believe that everyone has the ability to lead, whether it's a large organization, a family, or just themselves. So let's get into it. Here we go. All right, that's the intro. So, what I want to do is take a moment today to just explain real quick what we're going to be doing. We're going to jump into discussing sort of the psychological aspect of leadership. In that, we're going to discuss a few things, but we're mostly going to discuss the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, to give a quick recap, a long time ago, America, which is the country that we're going to be focusing on, since that's where I'm located, was predominantly an agricultural-based society and economy, meaning that that was what they relied on for the bulk of their goods, services, and what kind of fueled the economy, where all the jobs were. So you can imagine that there were busts and booms, there was feast and famine. You can imagine that farmers were used to live in multi-generation households. When one farmer got too old to continue working, he would turn the farm over and allow the next generation to take control, and so on and so on. They also would work really hard initially, tilling and the land, planting the seeds, and then there was a period of maintenance, and then of course the harvest was very labor intensive, and then they would have a large amount of crop and or livestock that they would have to go and sell on the market, get large lump sums, and then be able to manage that money throughout the rest of the year. So, along comes the Industrial Revolution. We see the emergence of factories and mass production of items and goods. So, being the good, business people that these factory owners were, the capitalists, they had to go out and persuade the local people to come in and work in their factories. So they had to go and explain to them, well, you're going to work for weeks at a time, and then we'll give you a paycheck at the end of that. So every day you're working, you're accruing a certain amount of money. You can imagine this took a little bit of a learning curve for the farmer people to sort of digest and understand how that was going to work. But eventually they were able to. Then you saw institute schools where it was a form of daycare. They allowed for people to kids to be watched, and then to also indoctrinate the kids in how to go and work in these factories. So eventually, through the power of ingenuity, economies of scale, we saw the price of a lot of these consumer goods becoming more and more accessible to the middle class and then to the lower middle class and so forth, meaning that there was a greater demand. We also saw a lot of subsidiary type businesses sprout up. So for instance, Henry Ford created the car. He's one of the most well-known people for the production line. Then of course they had the individual car components, the tires and things like that other industries that sprung up around his operation. So as they started to specialize now, you had people that had individual jobs. Say he was the person that painted the car. He was the person that installed the electrical system. These jobs became very systematic, and you saw people like Frederick Taylor and different people begin to institute ways of measuring production and efficiency, and pretty much squeezing everything they possibly could out of every employee. Once that had pretty much its peak, there was really nothing else they could do to make stuff more efficient. They'd driven down costs, they'd driven down the error rate and things like that. They began to notice little things that were creating more efficiencies, and that was one of the simple things was lighting. They realized that there was a direct correlation between the factories that were better lit and it created better moods, and therefore the employees were more efficient. They showed up to work more often. There was less turnover. So they began to study this and said, well, what other areas could this be prevalent in? So then you begin to see psychologists following the money, obviously, but going in and working with these barons at the time, these capitalists that had all the money, and saying, how can we offer our services to make you even more profitable? And one of the more well-known, Abraham Maslow, was a psychologist, and he really sort of pioneered what we call now is the hierarchy of needs, and it is a great way of dissecting what an individual needs. So if you can approach each of your employees in this manner and see what level of this hierarchy or pyramid that they're at, you know what they need, and you can also begin to understand what you can do to help them get to the next level. This is also reversed, and it's the consumer, so you can figure out where your consumer, customer is and what you need to do to sell to them individually. So our first level is going to be physical needs. So that's going to be shelter, food, clothing, things like that. Very simple. Most employees are going to have that before they come to you. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to depend on us, obviously, for uniforms and things like that. But hopefully they already have that. So the next rung up is where you're going to encounter most of your people. And that's safety and security. They're going to want a safe, stable, and place that's healthy. We saw a lot of this spring up where we started seeing government step in, and like OSHA and the labor board enforcing certain things. But companies have done a lot to improve this themselves. And as a good employer, if you want to drive your retention rate, that's going to be paramount to make sure that you have a culture of safety, a culture of healthy places to work, well lit, ventilated, comfortable, and then that it's stable. So I say this a lot, and I want to reiterate that as a leader, your job is to paint a picture or tell a story that is so enthralling that these employees can see themselves in it. They may not, and they will not all be the main character or the hero, but they can all play a supporting role in this. And so they want to see how they fit into the picture or story that you're telling. And you want to make them feel like they are working for a company that is well-funded, stable. They don't have to worry if they're going to get a paycheck. They don't have to worry if they're going to go in there and they're going to be at the mercy of a manager that got upset one day and fired them. So that you want to just let them know that this is not some fly-by-night, fly-by-the-seat-of-our-pants company, that we have lots and lots of layers of protection for them. That goes a long way to most of these people that want to be essentially kind of told what to do, what not to do, and ensured that if they do that and follow those rules, they'll get a paycheck. So one step up from that, that's where we see our love and belonging. This is when we start to cultivate relationships. This can be at the job site where we start to have friends and colleagues that we get along with, that we look forward to seeing. We start to see the formation of relationships as far as the pecking order, and we know kind of where we fall in. Believe it or not, that a lot of people actually like that and enjoy that, knowing where they stand. So that's big. And then, when we say love, you can love what you do, you can love your customers, you can find a connection with customers. If you're in healthcare, you can find a connection with your patients, so whatever it is. But that's where we start to develop this. Once we feel safety and secure and all our basic needs are met, now we start to look for more of a relationship type. And this is important because this is where a lot of people get their identity at work. It allows them to feel like they belong. And this is one of the major things that will prevent people from leaving, because they feel like they're letting down their customer, letting down their patient, or just letting down their coworkers, and that they're going to have to pick up the extra work and kind of carry their burden for them. The next level that we're going to look at once we get past that is going to be self-esteem. This is where you'll start seeing employees feeling accomplishments from the job they're doing. Hopefully we have some sort of recognition and acknowledgement program going on where we're acknowledging the high achievers. Maybe it's employee of the month, maybe it's individual achievements that we recognize, hitting sales quotas, even little things for the hourly workers. Maybe they're showing up every single day, they're on time every day. We acknowledge them and appreciate that. But it's also things that we can do. We can help usher them into new areas of achievement. We can give them opportunities to grow. This is where a lot of companies fail. A lot of companies that I work with on an individual basis, they do a decent job of creating opportunities for promotion within the company, but they don't really explain all the opportunities and show people how, give them a measurable way to know if they're actually progressing towards that. So that's where you see some of the more, things like the KPIs and showing people you're actually getting closer or further away from a promotion. But I think that the great companies do a good job of making people better regardless of whether they stay with them or not. Are we getting them industry certifications? Are we teaching them things that are going to carry over to other companies outside of ours? That's when people start to really feel like they're reaching a level of success that is above what they could have on their own. It creates a lot of loyalty. Even if they grow and we don't have a place for them and they decide to leave and go externally, out and look for a promotion externally, you're going to create a friend and an ally for life. And you never know where that's going to come back and, pay for itself. So, and then now we get sort of to the peak or the capstone of this pyramid, and we start to discuss things, what's called self-actualization. And in all actuality, this is sort of like an Eastern religion, Eastern philosophy, where we start to talk about what's the purpose, who are we? We've ascended to the highest level, we've had all of our basic needs are met, we're enjoying success, maybe we've accumulated or acquired all the trappings of a successful life per se. We've got a home, we've got a car, we've got all those things that average person sees as being signs of success. And we start to wonder, what else is there? You see this, and they call it the diminishing returns effect, but it's proven that at certain levels, once you reach, I think it's 75,000, once you start to earn much above that, it really doesn't bring that much more satisfaction. And the same thing, you start to wonder, well, I've got the house, will a summer home, or will a vacation home, or another car, or whatever it is, will the membership to a private club, things like that, is it really going to bring a lot more satisfaction? Is it going to give me that much more happiness? So this is where the individual starts to really question those things like that and start to wonder if what they're doing is worth it, if they need to continue doing what they're doing, or if they want to pursue something else. Also, you start to see people, upper executives that are well off, well-funded retirements. Do they want to continue doing this, or is it past the point where they no longer find a lot of satisfaction in it and they don't need to do it for monetary reasons? So at this point, it's where we start to find ways for them to reach that self-actualization. Um, you know, we talk about external or extrinsic or intrinsic motivators. So this is where they start to really hit that intrinsic. No longer are they necessarily motivated as much by a raise or a promotion, but we need to find ways to motivate them intrinsically. I work with a lot of upper level executives. Typically, there's a lot of burnout. They're tired, even though that most of them have assistants and entry level associates that do the bulk of the work for them. They're just burnt out because they're not getting that drive or motivation anymore from, what's another $20,000-$30,000 when everything you have everything you want. So we start to look for that intrinsic motivator of, can we start a mentoring program? Can we find opportunities outside of their current role to sort of expand their job? Maybe it's learning a new skill, maybe it's going to new areas, not necessarily in their same capacity, but maybe they can go places and find charities they can work with, opportunities like that. And the reason it's worth it is, even though it seems like it's a detracting or a detractor from what they do, it's really not, because these people are not physical employees, they're mental. They've got, sometimes decades worth of experience and knowledge, and you want to retain these people in some capacity. You also want to harness their knowledge and ensure that you have a very well planned out succession plan, and they can be paramount in that, because they're going to be able to help choose their successor. They're going to be able to help mentor them and help them navigate sort of that transition period. So you really want to make sure that you create ways and opportunities for upper level executives, once they've kind of reached the peak of their career, to hang around, find ways to keep enticing them to look for things other than just monetary benefit. So that's it in a nutshell. You got your physical needs, you got your safety, you got your belonging or your sense of community, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So if you look at this, and my challenge, as I always challenge everybody, every episode, I say, go out there, meet with every employee, and you don't necessarily have to be analyzing everything they say, but just in your mind, think about where these people are at, what level of the pyramid they're currently on, and what you can use to motivate them there, and then what you can use to help get them to that next level. And like I said, you can do the same thing with customers to find out, if someone's looking for a sports car, there's either they want to belong, they want to find that love and connection, or it's an achievement, it's sort of a trophy for them. They've had a certain level of self-esteem, they're there. So, you can really use it. It's a psychological thing, and it looks at why do people do what they do in societies or as individuals. So that's that. One thing I do want to say, that the parameters around this, or things that I think help to ensure that this is kind of being implemented. Onboarding's paramount. You as the leader should be setting the example. Every time you have somebody new come in, you want to be the person that's meeting them, greeting them, indoctrinating them, telling their story. And now I understand, the more and more people you have under you, the more difficult it gets to actually meet every new associate. But maybe it's not every hourly, but if you bring a new salary person on, maybe you can. It's whatever you can commit to. But somehow you need to get in front of them and tell them the story and paint that picture and let them know what the expectations are, what the goals are. This is where mission statements come in. Mission, vision, values are paramount. If you don't have a mission, vision, and value for yourself, your family, and your organization, you're doing a major disservice. you need to sit down and think about it and craft one. We'll do an episode on that. Excuse me. But it's paramount to know so that people know what the mission is. They know the vision and why they're on that mission. And then they know the individual core values that drive you and are expected of that whole culture, that community that they're going to be a part of. So we'll kind of come to a stop point there. I do appreciate everybody that's joined. I know I get a lot out of this. I hope you get a lot out of this. Our next episode is going to be on communication, which is typically one of the biggest breakdowns and hurdles that most companies face, most individuals and relationships face. So you'll start to see that theme sort of recurring, that all the stuff that we talk about is not just an organization, it's a leader is a leader regardless of their role, whether you're a family member, an employee, business leader, church leader, community leader. These are things we all need to know to help us. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure, if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a like, leave a comment. I love to respond to comments. I try to respond to every single one. In the below the video down here, you'll see where we have, I'll give you some links. If you're interested in doing some one-on-one coaching or you need consultations at your business, we do that. We do all this on a one-on-one basis. So when you contact us, somebody will reach out. We'll give you some forms to fill out and a lot of questions, and that's just so that we can really dig in and find out where you're at, what you need, and where you'd like to be, and we'll put together a clear roadmap of how you get from where you are to where you want to be. So look forward to hearing from everybody. Just remember, leaders lead, followers follow. If you're a leader, you need to lead in everything you do every single day. And whether it's your family, your community, or your business, if you're not leading them, somebody is. The question is, who's it going to be? I want it to be you. All right, leaders. See you next time. Thanks.